So this one's a longer one, which means it's the top. So I'm going to do all the tops to the top, all the bottoms to the bottom. If you look in there, hopefully you can see that. You can see the two lines there. This is Nate, and this is the Nader Tater channel. So today I'm working on my Bobcat Toolcat here, and I just got a new attachment, I guess you'd call it, on the back side. And now what this does, it gives me a tractor 3-point hitch that I can use any of the tractor implements for, and it has a hydraulic lift, you know, raise and lower on it, which means it needs obviously a hydraulic circuit, and I don't have an ox hydraulic. This is a Bobcat Toolcat 5600, which has the dump bed. They also make a 5610, which doesn't have the dump bed, and it has a factory 3-point with a PTO on the backside. So this doesn't give me a PTO, but it does give me the 3-point that I can raise and lower. And the benefit of this is that it can actually apply 1,200 pounds of raise and down, which normally a tractor can't really push down. So this can actually work better than a tractor under some circumstances. So I actually bought this guy used. It was unused, but the guy had bought it. I don't know what the story was. He didn't want it. Anyways, I contacted UTV Hitchworks that makes this guy. They call it like the farm boy, and they make it for all kinds of things like RTV, Kubota, Ranger, that kind of stuff. But I emailed them, and then I called them, and they never got back to me. I never actually got a hold of a person. I'm sure it's maybe a small business, and you know, perhaps I got unlucky. But anyways, I said, well, if you guys aren't going to get a hold of me or get back to me, then I'm not going to give you my business, basically. So what I need to do is add rear hydraulics for this guy to get fluid to raise and lower it. And obviously my dump bed is up, and the dump bed is hydraulic. So what they do is they sell a kit that will take your hydraulics for your bed and then tee into them so that you can get your hydraulics out there. So what I did was I went to UTV Hitchworks page. I found another YouTube video that they made, and found a picture of how they you know, implement it, and then as well as their instructions to install it, to get a kind of an idea of what they did, and it makes sense. It was kind of what I was thinking anyways. And I have the Bobcat schematics for how the hydraulics are plumbed to see if there's a best way. So I drew it out. For me, I went to my local hydraulic place. Now some auto parts stores will make these hydraulic hoses, but I went to Nelson's Hydraulics here. I think they're in Flint address or Burton. But so they made up some hoses. They're really good, I must say. I showed up there with just a description of what I wanted. They made them while I wait. Probably took 15 minutes, and they made me my 4 hoses that I need with my fittings that I need to split it so I can go to each side of the dump bed cylinder. So I'm gonna put that together. The thing I had to buy online, which no place seems to stock locally, I called many times, it's this hydraulic selector valve. So it's a 6-port valve, and then it has a basically, you know, a bypass where, you know, let's say that this is where I feed in the hydraulics all the time. I think I'm actually gonna feed them in here, and then if it's in the up position, it's sending hydraulics this way. If I press it down, you know, press that down, now the hydraulics go out in these 2 ports instead of these 2. So it basically just directs it. Do you want the hydraulics to go that way or go that way? And so this will be a manual way. It'll be simple. You know, you could do a kind of a fancy you know, electric solenoid switch. I really didn't want to mess with that. I'm not going to use it truthfully that much, but what it's going to do is, instead of being able to raise the dump bed, you'll be able to raise that up and down with that same lever on the inside. And it should be pretty robust and simple. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm not going to modify or cut or do anything with these stock lines. So if I want to take it off, or if something goes haywire, I can return it to stock without damaging anything. So let me get to work. I'll show you how I hook that up and where I install it, and then I'll let you know how it functions here in a little bit. I got a 7-foot box blade with the
scarifier teeth on it to use. So that should be a good test for how well this works.
What I decided to do with it is place it like this. The little plugs, you know, the little adapters to go to the kind of agricultural quick connects will be in here. And so I'm going to make them just about flush or a little bit behind the light there, if I can. And that will keep them out of the dump bed. And now, if you look at the back side of it, this knob actually protrudes. You know, it's actually further sticking out than the back side, so you need to space it off of whatever surface you're mounting it on. And you know, there's a couple ways to do that. The easiest way I thought to do it is actually to take these bolts that I have, and instead of drilling through this plate, which is decent sized plate, it's probably like 3/16, I'm going to weld them directly to that and make them kind of studs sticking off. And if I need to, I can add some washers or even a you know, a little spacer on that bolt to adjust that if I need. But it looks like maybe putting just the bolt head and maybe one washer, and that will work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this area off where I've measured where I want to put it, and then I'll do a couple tack welds, take this piece off, and then I'll weld up the bolt head in a couple places. And I'll weld it good enough that obviously it stays on. This is a fairly heavy cast piece, but I'll make it so if I had to, I could cut it off with a disc. So let me clean it up, and then we'll weld it on. Alright, so I had some Bobcat charcoal, so I threw that paint on there so that it's got a little bit of rust protection. Put one washer. And I'm going to put a washer and a lock washer on this side. I'll tighten it down later, but this will give me access. You know, it's a little bit tight. It's hard, you can't get your whole hand around it very easily, but you can grab it from the side and keep it as tucked in as I can to keep it protected from everything I run over and hit. So now we got to get the lines and set them up. So what I'm going to do, if you look at the diagram, basically you have two lines coming from the main hydraulics of the machine, and then it has a T-fitting, and one goes to the left side to this cylinder, the other side goes to the right side for each of those two lines. So what I'm going to do, and I was going to take off that T-fitting and run that straight to here, but that T-fitting is actually crimped on to that line, so you can't you know, just undo that T-fitting and get two single ends. So what I'm going to do is use the lines that are out here on the driver's side and run those to feed this, and then I'll have to run new lines with a T to go back across the machine to the other side, and I'll have to cap the lines that are currently on the passenger side. I'll lay out how long I got the lines and what fittings I have on each one, so you guys, if you want to make your own, you could do this. And obviously, if you don't have a 3-point hitch, that's fine. If you want to run some other kind of hydraulic implement off the back of me, I kind of plan on maybe if I get, I've been thinking about something like a dump trailer or something like that. I could use these hydraulics for that, or any other thing that you need hydraulic power for. Now, it's obviously not a lot because these are smaller lines. I don't know the gallons per minute that it provides. I think these fittings are like max of 8, but I would be surprised if you even got that much flow for these guys back here. So I can't tell you how much flow you get. Maybe someone else knows better than I do. So I have two short lines, and I think these are 18 inches each, and these have a T-fitting on them. And then to go to the other side are two of these lines, 160 inches and 167. And that's because the you know, these cylinders, one connector's down here, one connector's up here, so they're both coming from here. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. So all right, so this is a T-fitting, and one side is going to go to the driver's side, the other side is going to the passenger side. So one of these to this hose and one of them to this hose. So let me screw it in here. Now these into the valve block here, these are 3/8 NPT fittings, but they make a couple different sizes ones. These angle fittings are what I'm going to use to connect these guys to here. So these convert from a 3/8 NPT to a 3/8 flare that I made all these lines. The nice thing about the flare is that they have the swivel end, so you don't have to worry about, you know, the hose getting kinked up and twisted, because that swivel end will help keep the hose from getting have a twist in it. Alright, so this one's a longer one, which means it's for the top. So I'm going to do all the tops to the top, all the bottoms to the bottom. That way you don't get them crossed up. You definitely don't want to get left to right crossed up where one's trying to raise and one's trying to lower. I'm pretty sure you'll quickly pretzel up your dump bed there. So good to make sure that that's the right way to go. So this one needs to go to here. Now one mistake I will say I made was when I was there, I was talking to the guy, I was showing him the pictures, and I didn't understand at the time, but the Bobcat uses a 3/8 fitting, but it's actually a 1/4 inch hose. And they did that, I think, for flexibility and packaging. You see how big of a radius this has to be. This is a 3/8 inch hose. Obviously it flows more, but these don't need it, and I guess they use a 3/8 fitting just because it's bigger and more robust. But that's one thing I wish I would have done, was get a 1/4 inch hose. The guy said they had them there in stock. They could have made me those, but I didn't know it at the time, and so I live and I learn. But the hose cost would have been probably a little bit cheaper, nothing substantial. It's more just the flexibility improvement that you get with it. So, you know, I'll zip tie these up and make them a little bit cleaner the best I can once I get ready to hook them up. So now I'm going to hook up, I guess it doesn't matter, I hook up either side here. So I'm going to go ahead and hook up these lines here, just so I have them. And I'll be honest, I kind of guesstimated here on the hose size and the hose length, I mean. And I might, we'll have to see if I was wrong or not with my assumptions. I was certainly thinking of flexibility of this guy. I had this guy out and looking at how flexible it is. These guys are definitely not as flexible. You know, hydraulic hose has like braided stainless steel in there that gives it the strength to hold 3,000-4,000 psi pressure. So they're not as flexible as something like a rubber coolant hose. Alright, so this is there. So now I just need to put these guys to here, and then I'll go to the other side and run those. So let me pop these guys off. So now when I pop these off, hopefully they don't leak too much. Last time I did this. So this one's gonna go to here. Okay. clean this one up a little bit. It's kind of nasty in there. You definitely don't want to get your hydraulics all contaminated. That one's a little bit tight. But when I looked in there, they're basically zip tied in place. So I should be able to free up a little bit of slack if I get in there. Alright, so I'll get to that in a second. So let me just hook this guy up here. Alright, so obviously this is going to go down like that, so this should be okay with that movement. Now I gotta see if I can get this guy to do kind of a wraparound as well. Looks like it will be able to do that. Alright, so hopefully that one will work. That one could be a little bit longer maybe. This one could be a little shorter. Alright, so let's see if I can free up some space there. Alright, so to get some more length to this bottom one that I can't quite get to go on here, if you look in there, hopefully you can see that. You can see the two lines there, and they have a zip tie that's holding them still. So I'm going to pop that zip tie off, if I can see it with the holding the camera. Alright. So now, this guy can pull over here. The other side's not connected, right? So now it gives me the room I need. So now if you're thinking this looks like a little bit of a monstrosity, you're right. It could definitely be cleaner than this, and I might end up redoing it cleaner now that I can figure out exactly how these go. You know, about half my cost is actually in a lot of these fittings, and of course that block, but the lines actually aren't super expensive. So that's in there. Now I just hook up the other side, and then we can test it out and see how it does. Because of coming out up here made it so difficult to get to this guy, because you have to go all the way down and then back around. Same for this one. I actually ended up routing them the same way that these factory lines are routed, where they go kind of underneath the radiator, just behind the fan. So I was able to route them there without any problem. So now I'm just going to hook them up. So I have these plugs for the factory lines so that they're locked off. And I have to move those kind of out of the way. So I think I might just zip tie these lines right to each other, and they're all together. Alright, let's try again. I gotta lift it up so I can take the safety off. Alright, so now I'm going to push this guy down.